Hello everyone, Don with Resolute Outdoors here. So if you've been following the channel recently, you realize that I put out a video about why traditional pocket knives, kind of like these two represented here, are a good option to carry, my top 5 reasons for that. Today I wanted to kind of go over some reasons on why maybe you wouldn't want to carry a traditional pocket knife like this, and why a more modern style knife like this Buck Vantage here might be a better option for you. So it's kind of the inverse of my last video. So first and foremost, the reason why a more modern style knife like this would be something you might want to carry over a traditional pocket knife is that they are just more ergonomic. I mean, you can obviously see there's a lot more grip texture in the handles here, and this is kind of a lightly textured handle on the Buck Vantage as compared to some other modern pocket knives. But just the shape, I mean, you actually have beveling here for where your hand's going to actually go. There's a thumb ramp here in this contoured to shape your hand and to fill your hand to have as little hot spots as possible when you're actually using the knife. Where a traditional pocket knife, maybe like a Buck 110 style, might have a curve to it, but it's nowhere near the same as having actually a dedicated, twists and turns in this knife to actually contour towards your hand. And then these, camp knives or Swiss Army style knives obviously have no curvature at all, and sometimes they have some texture, and sometimes they don't. But when they do, it's typically a more slippy type of material as compared to like a G10 or a micarta. Second big reason you might want to carry a modern pocket knife over a traditional pocket knife is that they are easier to carry and quicker to access. So almost all modern pocket knives have pocket clips. They're almost always reversible for the left or right side carry, and some of them are even reversible to be tip up or tip down. So you have a lot of options there. Your traditional pocket knives almost always never have a pocket clip, which can be good and bad. You can reference my last video on traditional pocket knives to see the plus sides of that. But not being able to access your knife one hand is not really a great thing sometimes, depending on what you're doing. If you're in construction or some other trade where you need to access your knife one-handed, this can be the ticket. So the next reason then, kind of flowing into that modern pocket knives are better than your traditional pocket knife, is that they all the times have an assisted, either a flipper, or this isn't spring assisted, this is just a there's no spring or anything in here, you just manually use your thumb. Now a lot of times, even if you don't get this knife out completely, you can give it a flick and get it open one-handed. That's not something you could ever do with a traditional pocket knife like this. Maybe once you've worn a knife in, you kind of flick it and maybe get it open, but then you start getting into issues with retention, where that's not really a knife you'd want to carry regularly. It would come open in your pockets, put a hole in your pocket or cut you. So these are definitely more quick access knives. OTF type knives or flippers or spring assists are awesome as well. Even a lot of modern knives, they have either a thumb hole here or even thumb studs, where even if you don't have a flipper, you can just open your knife like that. That's not something you can do on a traditional style pocket knife very easily. Third big reason that you might want to carry a modern style pocket knife over a traditional style is that they don't have all this extra stuff. So typically you get more blade and a thicker blade for the weight. I haven't weighed these knives, but they're not that much different. But you can clearly see the blade thickness is different. And this is not a junk knife. This is I think a Victorinox. This is an actual Swiss Army knife. So this isn't a junk knife, and this isn't a bad quality knife at all. But you get a lot more blade for this because you are omitting all the other features that are included in this knife. And you might say that's a bad thing, and maybe it is. If this is the only knife you have, then you obviously are giving up a lot of capabilities going with the modern knife. But a lot of people, like myself included, I typically carry a multi-tool with me here. So I have like my Leatherman Wingman here, which I've carried for a long time. You can reference some of my older EDC videos. But I have all the tools I would need in here. Obviously not a corkscrew, but besides that, there's pretty much nothing I can I can do with this that I can't do on this. And if I carry both of these around, why does my knife need to do everything my multi-tool does? If I'm only carrying one knife, I'd go with the traditional style knife with more features, but on my day-to-day basis, I don't need anything else besides a blade. So I'm just going to go with the blade here. It's a better blade. It's bigger, and it has a nicer profile. I mean, these are relatively similar sized knives. There's a huge difference there. I mean, obviously, it could maybe another ½ inch here, so maybe they're not quite in the same size category, but this is a huge difference. And proportionally to this size blade to this size body, it is a lot more, I think, than this size blade to this size body. So it's another thing to consider when you're carrying a modern style pocket knife over a traditional style. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, maybe half the blade size, and this knife is not only half the size. This knife is not twice as big as this surface area wise. So I think proportionally you're getting a lot more blade for this. Another big reason I want to go with a modern style pocket knife is that you have more options in blade shapes. Now there's traditional style knives in all different shapes, but by and large, you can't really get. I haven't seen a traditional style pocket knife with like a Tonto style blade or anything like that. You typically are limited to drop points or clip points. So you can kind of get a lot of different styles, especially clip point blades and things like that on a more modern style knife. And I think that's just due to the fact of how they operate. Since you only have one blade to go in this, you don't have other things to go into it, and it's not a friction fit or a friction joint knife. You can get a lot more creative with your blade shape. So if we were going to put a Tonto blade on here, it would stick out a lot more probably. Either that or it'd be super small, a very fine brittle point up there on that knife. So you get more blade options with your modern style pocket knife. So something to consider as well. So overall, I think these traditional style knives do have a place. I carry these occasionally, especially in formal wear. But on my EDC, I definitely do carry a modern style pocket knife. There's been times where I've carried these and I've gone back and forth occasionally. In the office, sometimes these are a better option, a traditional style. But by and large, on the weekends and things like that, most of the time you'll find me with a modern style pocket knife. So kind of just wanted to bring this little two-part series here or so to a conclusion. I appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Don with Resolute Outdoors. Until next time, I'll see you.